So, although there are several issues and problems in relation to commercialized sports, I've decided to talk about a few that we see in the forefront most of the time. So, issue number one would be the income and revenue versus the scholarship award. We see that many athletes are really underpaid, if you will. And so when we talk about this concept of the scholarship, that really is their payment. So we have arguments going from left saying that, hey, they need to be paid because of the long hours that they're working technically, and basically what they're doing compared to the professionalism or the professional athletes is the same. And then we have the far right that says no, they should not be paid, their education is their payment. But then when we look at the incoming revenue that is being created off of these student athletes, I mean, for example, one home game for Tennessee's football program, and this is just a regularly scheduled game, brings in about $2 million. That our movie Big Time Losers talks about. And then when we compare that to the SEC for football annually, the Big Ten brings in about $950 million. And again, this is not including the bowl games and things like that. So when we look at this comparison between how much money the sports are actually bringing in compared to what the student athlete is awarded scholarship wise, the numbers just do not mix. Lumpkin talks about in our text, when coaches and athletic directors receive $1 million salaries from the economic rent not paid to athletes, how is this ethical? And it goes hand in hand again. We're paying our coaches and our administrators millions of dollars to coach. No offense, because I've been a coach and I've been paid, and I definitely understand that you have to have a living, but you're getting paid millions of dollars and you're not on the court. You're not doing the blood, the sweat, the tears, the conditioning, the long hours of conditioning, then having to going to practice and going to games and being away from family and things like that. Yes, there are some components that, of course, coaches and administrators have to undergo. But when we're talking about the people that are actually bringing the championships and actually playing the games, they're not being paid. And so that is an issue. That's one of the issues that we see in commercialized sports. Another issue is the academics element. So when we talk about those far left, critics that say, hey, well, they're getting their academics paid for, we know that on average, a college degree is about $50,000 to complete the degree. But here's the issue. A lot of our student athletes are not graduating. So if they have these hopes of going professional and they don't graduate, now then, how is this being a benefit to them academic wise? Another issue that we see are athletes taking classes that are not really moving towards a degree just so that they will be able to stay eligible in order to participate. Now, academically, they have a 3.0 or 3.5. However, what classes are they really taking that's going to be beneficial for, again, the progress of the 40, 60, 80 rule as far as progress towards a degree? And then we see these unrealistic majors or easy majors that they go after, like explaining Big Time Losers. But again, this is an issue when only less than or 1% of collegiate athletes across the board go to professional adventures. Next, we see the graduation and the afterlife of these college athletes, and that again goes hand in hand with academics in a way, but then we're looking more closely at what happens and why they do not graduate. They don't graduate because they do not have the appropriate units to graduate. And then so then what happens? They ended up dropping out of out of school, because the schools will say, hey, we are no longer paying for your education because you just don't meet the requirements. You're not close to graduating. So you're taking students that already cannot pay for college, you're giving them a scholarship, and now you're ripping the scholarship away because their eligibility is done. They didn't go professional, and now they have nothing. And so this life after sports is really huge, and it's a real issue that we see going on in the athletics. And there's really no reason why colleges cannot pay for the continuation of these athletes, especially that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Former college presidents, and one named James Duderston of the University of Michigan told the commission that if these student athletes are not graduating, it's not only going to look bad on the athletic program, but it's going to look bad on the university as a whole. So we will talk about the solutions that have arose in order to getting these athletes graduated. And then last but not least, I want to talk about the health of our student athletes. I mean, so often we know that health is a taboo type of issue when it doesn't have anything to do with injuries, but we often forget that health is a holistic approach. So we see mental health, we see social, and we see physical, of course. But there was a really cool study that I was able to find about the perception that student athletes have about their immune system, and what's going on psychologically and mentally for them, and the high numbers of close to near deaths, suicides that these athletes encounter, because about 10 to 20% of our student athletes do suffer from depression. And so this is a very large problem that I'm hoping that we will be able to address and come up with some viable solutions.